All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to LisaBug Yoga Flow. We are in the month of March 2025. And today I have for us, we will be focusing on the posterior chain. What is that? There's a chain of muscles that run along the back of our body, and those are connected together by what we call fascia. And fascia would be if you can imagine that your muscles are your muscles are encased in saran wrap. And if we're trying to stretch our muscles and the saran wrap is too tight, we can't get to the muscle, right? So what we want to do is lengthen the saran wrap or the fascia that's around our muscles as well. And that is all joined together along the posterior chain or the back side of our body. So if we stretch our lower back, that's going to help our hamstrings to release. If we stretch our calves, that's going to help our hamstrings to release because it's all kind of connected together. So what I want you to have today is a yoga strap. We're going to come down onto the floor to start to actively stretch the chain. We'll be stretching standing as well. If you need a small chair for balance, that's going to be helpful too. So take some time, just come down onto your back, have your yoga strap available for you to reach for it, and perhaps even your block available to reach for it too, because we might be using that as well. All right, before we start class today, once you come down, I want you to completely relax. If we're tense in our body, even in our mind, it's so hard for our muscles to let go and to soften. So just start with your knees bent first, your feet flat on the floor. And close your eyes, bring your awareness to your internal self. And try to separate your internal self from everything that's going on around you. And sometimes I'm hearing somebody maybe cutting their grass outside. So I'm hearing some noise. We might have distractions that are in our environment, but try to separate yourself from that as much as possible and bring your awareness to your breathing. If you'd like, you can take your belly or your hand and place it on your belly, or both hands, or one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart, and just feel the belly rise and fall as you breathe. And just kind of notice how you're breathing this first part of class today. I feel like my breath is pretty shallow. It's kind of just in my chest here. And I want to start to increase the volume of my breathing. So some ways we can do that, we make the breath deeper and fuller and let the belly rise up as we inhale. And then complete exhalations are important because then that's going to allow us to take a fuller breath in if we expel all of the air out of our lungs and out of our belly. And our breathing techniques help to calm the mind and to bring us into the present moment to help us to ground ourselves in our yoga practice. Now just let your awareness continue to run in the background with your breathing. So not center in the middle of your mind, but in the background of your mind. And then we'll bring the right knee up to the chest and just hug it in. If you'd like, you can curl your head and shoulders up off the mat a little bit and just feel a stretch along the back. And then lower down. Take a breath in. Pull the left knee up to your chest, exhaling. And pull your abs in here. And let's do 2 more each side. Right knee in, maybe flex your foot a little bit, or you could do some ankle circles, anything you want here. And then lower down. Left knee comes up. You might feel this a little bit in your glute as well as your back. And lower, let's do one more on each side. With some of these earlier movements, you can keep your eyes closed if you'd like. Last one here on the left. And then lower down. Now let's take the right knee in, but just let it hover up into space and straighten the right leg and then bend the knee. So we're keeping the upper leg in place and we're trying to get the leg to completely straighten and to bend as much as you would allow it to. If your hamstrings are really tight, then your leg's going to be closer to the floor here as we straighten and bend. We're using our quadricep muscle to find that lengthening. And let's get 2 more, roughly 10 repetitions. And then set that right foot down to the ground. We'll repeat on the left. Try to keep your core muscles engaged as we do this, so your spine is pretty neutral here. And we'll straighten and bend. And you can add the breath flow to this any way you would like. Again, you're just running the breath in the background. It's not foremost in your thoughts, so you're allowing your body's own systems to kind of motivate the breath. And 2 more. And then we'll set that left foot down. Let your right leg extend low, straighten it. Keep your foot flexed, and then just lift that leg straight up until you find a nice gentle stretch and come back down. So what we're doing with these introductory movements is we're taking that posterior chain and we're kind of taking it into parts. And we're moving each one of those parts one at a time, and the parts are joints. So the last section, we targeted the knee joint. Now we're targeting the hip joint. And 2 more. Great. All right. We bend that right knee, set the foot down, extend your left leg long, flex your ankle, and we'll lift and lower. Now your left quadricep muscles should be nice and engaged, because if we tighten the front side of the leg, then the back side relaxes. We've talked about this a lot in LisaBug classes. It's called reciprocal inhibition. Bring your awareness back to a nice strong core. Two more. You might be noticing differences between the right side and the left. That's okay. Each side is independent. Okay, let's set that left foot back down to the floor. Extend the right leg long, lift it until you feel a gentle stretch. Hold it there, and then we point and flex the ankle. So we started by flexing through the spine. We moved to the knee joint. We moved to the hip joint, and now we're moving to the ankle joint. They're all pieces of the posterior chain. 2 more, flex and point. And then we'll bring that right foot back down to the mat. Extend your left leg long. Lift it up till you feel a gentle stretch in your hamstring. We'll maintain that as we point and flex. And we learned a lot about the ankle joint last week. If you didn't get a chance to come to class, catch that one on YouTube. We talked about plantar flexion when we point and dorsiflexion as we pull the toes toward the kneecap. And 2 more. All right, bend that knee, set the foot down. Now we'll combine a lot of these movements together. So extend your right leg long, point your toe, bring your knee in towards you with the toe point, extend your leg up, flex your ankle, and then lower your leg straight down. Then we'll point the toe, bring the knee in, extend the leg up, flex the foot, and lower down. Point, knee in, straighten the leg, flex the ankle, lower. 2 more. Point, knee in, extend, flex the ankle, and lower. 1 more time. Point, knee in, leg extends, flex the ankle, and lower. Now let's reverse that. So keep your foot flexed. Lift your leg straight up. Point the foot. Bend the knee and reach the leg out long and low. Flex the ankle. Lift the leg straight up. Point the toes. Bend the knee and extend out low. Flex. Lift. Point. Bend and extend long. 2 more. Flex. Lift. Point. Bend and reach the leg long. Flex. Lift. Point. Bend. Reach long. And then set your right foot down to the mat. Great. All right, switching legs. We'll extend the left leg long with the toe point. Bend the knee in. Extend the leg up. Flex the ankle and then lower the leg straight down. Point, knee in. Lengthen the leg up. Flex the ankle and lower. 3 more. Point, knee in. Extend up. Flex and lower. 2 more. Point, knee in. Extend up. Flex, that's the hard part, and lower. Last one. Point, knee in. Extend, flex, and lower. Stay right there as we reverse. Keep the flexion in your ankle, and we'll lift, point, bend the knee, extend the leg long, flex the ankle, lift, point, bend the knee, reach it out. 3 more. Flex the ankle, lift, point, bend the knee, reach long, flex, lift, point, bend the knee, reach long. 1 more. Flex that ankle, lift it up, point, bend the knee, reach long, and set both of your feet down to the mat. Take a big deep breath and just check in. How did that feel in the posterior chain? We're going to be doing some of these exercises standing later, so this just gives you an idea of the flow of movement and the activation of the muscles. and the joints. So let's bring our feet about hips distance apart. Slide your feet closer to your glutes. And let's tuck the tailbone under and then roll up into a nice bridge. Squeeze the glutes, the hamstrings, the back of the legs, and then roll back down. So now we're firing the muscles of the posterior chain. Tuck and roll up, tensing the backs of the legs, the glutes, stabilizing the back muscles, and then roll back down. 2 more. Tuck the tailbone under. Lift the hips any amount, doesn't have to be real high. And then roll down. 1 more time. Tuck, roll up, roll down, and come back to neutral spine. Okay, take your time to come to your feet. So you could roll to your side, push yourself over to hands and knees maybe, or roll like a ball until you sit up. You find the way that works best for you. And come all the way to a stand. Great. Shoulders are back. Spine is nice and lifted. Open up through the heart. We'll take an inhale to reach the arms out and up. Then exhale, let the arms swan dive down. Bend your knees any amount and come into forward bend. And then we'll inhale as we come back up. Exhale to come down. So I want you to do this at your own pace for the next 1 minute. You don't have to follow my speed. You can dictate how long you stay in the forward fold, how long you stay lifted, or if you keep continuous moving. You're just noticing the posterior chain. We've had a chance to pre-stretch it a little bit. So maybe you feel just a bit more freedom in the backs of the legs than you might generally start with a forward fold. You've got 15 seconds to go. And the next time you're in your forward fold, I want you to hold it there. Now, with our forward fold, we can have the block in front of us. You can have your chair in front of you. Maybe you're flexible enough to bring your hands to touch the mat, or you're using the fronts of your shins. Or you can clasp opposite elbows and just descend into ragdoll pose. Then bring your awareness back to your breathing. Let your head relax, your shoulders. Maybe you move your head a little bit from side to side or up and down. And we moved from a dynamic stretch for the posterior chain to a static stretch. So we're just holding here. And remember, your knees can bend some. In fact, I'd prefer a little bit of bend in the knees than have your legs locked out. Let's take 3 more slow breaths. If you have your elbows clasped, release that. Soften your knees a bit more, rising up with that reverse swan dive. And press palms at the heart center. Okay, we are going to move through the flow of movements we did on our back, but now we'll be standing up. You will likely need either a wall or your chair for a little bit of balance here. So we did the right leg first time when we were on the mat. So let's do our left leg first. And we're actually going to balance on our right leg first. So standing nice and tall, we'll point the foot of the left leg and lift the knee up. We'll extend the leg out to straight, flex the ankle, and then lower the leg straight down. So we go point, knee up, extend, flex, and lower. Point, knee up, extend, flex, lower. 2 more. Now your leg doesn't have to be high when you lift the knee. You want to be able to get that leg to straighten. 1 more. Point, knee up, extend, flex, lower. Now keep the foot flexed at the bottom. Lift the leg up, point the toe, bend the knee, and come down. Flex, lift, point, bend, and lower. Flex, lift, point, bend, and lower. 2 more. Ankle dorsiflexion, hip flexion, ankle plantar flexion, knee flexion, and come down. Great. Okay, let's do the other side. I think I got 5 of each, if I counted correctly. Okay, let's balance on the left. Take the leg out and point the toe of the right foot. We lift the knee up, extend the leg, flex the ankle, and come down. Point, knee up, extend, flex, down. 3 more. Point, up. Think about your posture. Flex. 2 more. Point, knee, extend, flex, down. 1 more. Point, knee, extend, flex, reverse. Keep the foot flexed. Lift, point, knee in, down. Flex the ankle. Lift, point. Which direction is harder for you? Is it this one? Or you've got to lift that leg up straight, point, knee, and lower. 2 more. Flex, lift, point, knee, and down. 1 more. Flex, lift, point, knee, and down. Great job. I'm going to move that chair back to the other side. Okay, yoga strap. And just have that at the ready. I'm going to place it on my chair. So I'd like for you to take your right foot up onto the top of your chair or whatever you have at home. And then I want you to see if you can balance here. And just stand tall. If you need something to touch, you can have the top of the chair to hold. Now keep your hand on the chair if you need for balance. Otherwise, we're going to reach the arms forward. Make sure your standing leg is soft, not locked. We'll take a breath in. And as we exhale, we'll start to come forward into our stretch for the hamstring. Now, you're going to be able to know right away when you've reached your edge. If you want, you can take your yoga strap, bring that underneath the bottom of the ball of the foot, and then pull the toes back as you're stretching. The hands can come to the top of the chair. You can reach there, the top of the shin. What we don't want to do is push down on our knee because that's going to cause you to come into a locked knee position. And let's just hold another 30 seconds. Great for our balance as well as our flexibility, our stability. And just about 3 more slow breaths. All right, carefully and gently bring yourself back up and set that right foot down to the mat. And just pause for a moment. It's interesting, I always have this sensation that the right side of my body is longer when I hold a nice deep stretch like that. And we've gotten into that fascia, that connective tissue, as well as the muscles. Okay, let's bring our left foot up on the chair. Now, if you don't want to bring it up to a chair, you can put it in front of you on the floor and do it this way as well, or a much shorter object. Even your yoga block would work nice. Okay, let's just see if we can balance here. This is my more difficult side to balance on, so I already feel less confident. So if you feel a little less confident, give yourself some confidence by putting your hand on something when you need to. Okay, reaching the arms forward, we'll take a breath in. And then lengthen. Ooh, this side is really going to talk to me today. So I'm going to try to use that yoga strap because I need a big reach here to get into this stretch. All right, let's try to relax as much as possible. Soften your breathing. Well, we've talked about the muscle spindle and the Golgi tendon organ. Just to remind you, they're in the muscles and tendons, and if we overstretch, they cause a stretch response where your muscle can start to contract and you might start to feel shaking. So we shouldn't have muscle shaking while we're stretching. If you do, then I want you to back off the stretch, take a break, and then come back in a little less intense in that stretch. Let's take 2 more breaths. All right, slowly and carefully come back up to our mountain pose and just pause and check in. So we're going to move today through sun salutation B with the modification of including pyramid pose, which is going to be a stretch for the posterior chain. So have your chair in front of you, especially if you don't want to go all the way down to the mat to do downward dog. And I'm going to show you the options with using the chair. If you want to go right to the floor and you know that progression, then go right into that on the first round. So Surya Namaskar B starts in mountain pose. I'd like you to bring your hands to the heart center and sit into chair. So this is our first pose in the flow of movements. We feel strengthening on our legs, but we have kind of a shortening in the posterior chain because our knees are bent. So we're working strength rather than flexibility, although we're feeling a little stretch at the ankles. Now start to straighten the legs and fold into forward bend. Option 1, hands to your chair. Option 2, hands go down to the mat. We step the feet back so we can come into a downward dog. And let's hold this first one and really stretch through the shoulders. If you have shoulders and wrist problems, using the chair is just fantastic. And from your downward dog, glide forward into a plank. So this first one I'm doing on the chair. We want to make our body nice and level in our plank. And then bend your elbows any amount as we're lowering ourselves down. This is our chaturanga. And then let your hips drop and lift your heart for an upward facing dog. If you're on the mat, you can also do cobra. Then push and lift the hips back up to come into your down dog. Then we'll take a step forward with your right foot toward the top of your mat and straighten your leg as we're in our pyramid pose. Now, if touching the chair is not an option for you, you can come up and level off the hips. So we're feeling that stretch along the posterior chain. Let's hold 2 more breaths in our pyramid. And then we prepare ourselves for the half series vinyasa. So from here, we step the front foot back into the down dog. We stretch for a breath. Now, if you want to stay here rather than taking the plank to the chaturanga portion, that's great. Otherwise, we'll shift into our plank. Bend the elbows, chaturanga. Let the hips sink down into spinal extension. And push back to your down dog. And we'll take a step forward with the left foot, straightening the leg as we come into pyramid. Take any options here that you need. Boy, I can already tell this left side was so tight that first stretch we did. And now it's actually coming to the party pretty well. Okay, we have 1 more half series vinyasa. So step that front foot back to your plank or to your down dog. Remember, you can stay here if you don't prefer the half series piece. Otherwise, shift forward into your plank. Bend the elbows a little bit, strengthening your triceps and chest muscles. Then extend the spine long. Push back to your down dog one last time. Then we just walk the feet forward. We're back into a forward bend. Rise up into upward salute, Urdhva Hastasana. And just let your arms come by your side. So that's the entire Surya Namaskar B. Now I want you to continue to use the chair as we repeat it, but I'm going to demonstrate it from the mat. I'll still give you verbal instructions on using the chair. Let's bring the palms to heart center. Sit into chair, Utkatasana, powerful pose. Thunderbolt. We feel the strength in our legs, our glutes. We have the core engaged, and we're breathing. Then fold into forward bend. Hands can come to your chair if you're using that, or all the way down to the mat. And we'll step the feet back into downward dog. And let's hold here for a few breaths. And it's okay if you're using the chair. I want you to feel fine about that. It's not cheating. It's not a lower level. It's a great way to perform the pose without a lot of stress and strain on your shoulders and your wrists. You still get the great benefit of the pose. Okay, here's our half series vinyasa, or you can stay in your down dog. We'll glide forward to plank. Now on the mat, we can also bring the knees down to the floor. We'll bend the elbows. Then we can drop the hips into our kneeling up dog, or your knees can be up off the mat, or you can come all the way down to the belly and just take a baby cobra. And then we'll push back to our down dog. Now we need to bring the right foot forward into pyramid. So I'm going to bend my knees and really jump my foot forward. Now, if it doesn't make it up there, I'm going to grab my foot, help it come up, plant the back foot to the floor, rise up and straighten the front leg coming into pyramid. You can still use that chair for the hands, any props you need. Okay, our next destination is back to our down dog, either using the chair or the floor. Push back. And you can stay in your down dog or flow through the half series vinyasa, which involves gliding to your plank, knees or toes, chaturanga, cobra or upward facing dog. And then pressing back to your down dog. Okay, now we've got to get the left foot to come forward. So I'm going to step it and then help it along. Planting the back foot, coming up to straighten the front leg into pyramid pose. Wow, what a change in this stretch just from 15 minutes ago. It's good to see that this works, that it is effective. Okay, our next destination is back to one last down dog, chair or floor. And you can stay here or one last time to move through the half series vinyasa, gliding into your plank, maybe dropping to the knees, lowering down chaturanga, taking either your baby cobra or your up dog, and then press back to down dog. Then take as many steps as you need to walk or hop the feet forward. We'll come back into our forward bend. And then soften the knees, rise up into upward salute, and let the arms drift by your side back to mountain pose. That's a lot of work. Okay, let's step out long ways on your mat. Take a nice, generous, wide position with your feet. And we're just going to bend the right knee and stretch through the left inner thigh. And then straighten that right knee. We'll do it again. Bend the right and straighten. Now reach this left arm up. As you bend the right knee, reach down any amount toward the floor or your foot. And then reach up and look toward your hand and slightly rotate your torso so that your shoulder is coming back beyond the midline of your body. And then reach across and reach up. So our spine is rotating. Two more. And one more. Now we'll hold in our reaching stretch. So we're going to stay here. You might need your block. Get mine closer here so that we can hold this. And I'm really feeling a generous stretch in the inner thigh of that left leg. This is a modification of humble warrior. Oftentimes we see humble warrior done with our hands clasped behind our back. And you could do that as well. And we're focusing on the posterior chain and the inner thigh on that left leg. Okay, what goes down must come back up. So I want you to push really strongly into your right leg and rise up and straighten that leg. Good. I'm going to prep the other side by bringing my block over there. So I'll be ready for it. And we are going to bend the left knee. This is the one joint I have not had replaced yet, so it does not like this very well. And then straighten it. And we'll bend it. And we'll straighten it. Now we're going to lift this arm, and as we bend the left knee, we'll reach down any amount. So I'm rotating my torso, and then I'll push through and lift, look toward the hand, and twist the spine the opposite direction. And reach. Now for me, the way that feels best to breathe is to take my inhale right here, and then my exhale coming down. Two more. Now this arm doesn't have to be up if that bothers your shoulder. You can just put your hand at your hip and rotate back. Let's do one more breathing in, coming up. And then we'll come into our static stretch, coming all the way down, and I'm going to use my block here. Ooh, this is a deep stretch right in that inner thigh, that hamstring. Now, I really enjoy using support when I'm stretching because it does help you relax. But to some degree, you don't want to use too much support because I also want you to feel like you're strengthening this stabilizing leg. So you could almost take your hands or just use your fingertips gently so you're feeling the strengthening going on that left side. A couple more breaths. Okay, we've got to push down into that left leg to come up. Ooh, and I can hear my bone on bone going snap, snap, and then straighten that leg. Okay, let's do 3 swan dives into forward bend in this wide leg position. Inhale. Exhale, fold with a nice long spine coming down. And 2 more. One more. And when we come all the way down, we'll hold this static stretch one more time for about 60 seconds. And again, use support if needed. Bend your knees a little bit if needed. Find your stretch here. Now, because we're stretching the posterior chain, a chain of muscles that are connected by this connective tissue, I could probably ask each of you where you feel this, and you'd all say something a little different because the tight areas in our body are going to be different. And sometimes we're only as flexible as the tightest part of that chain. Let's see what we got left. Ooh, we're almost at our minute, about 10 seconds. And then I want you to decide how to come down to sit on your mat. And there'll be various ways to do that. I'm going to grab my little blanket here so I can sit on it and come on down to a seated position. And let's just sit crisscross applesauce and have your yoga strap close. All right. So let's see. I want you to start with the leg that you feel is a little less flexible than the other one. And for me, that is my left, but facing you, it's going to be on your right side. So I'm going to extend my left leg out and just keep this other foot tucked in a relaxed position. Now, what's kind of nice with your yoga block, if you would like to, is you can support this leg. So if it's kind of hanging there in space, then sometimes these muscles will tighten. And I want to relax my hip. So I'm just going to let my knee come to relax there. Then turn your body toward the extended leg. I'm going to lasso the yoga strap there. And then I want you to hold the strap with the hand, the same side hand. But then turn your body to face forward. Then we are going to lift the other arm, pull yourself down with the strap, and side bend the body. And if this bothers your shoulder, just lower your arm because it's about the side waist. But if we have our arm lifted and reached toward the ear, that's going to stretch the lat even more. But do what feels comfortable for your body. Now take a breath in and slightly come up, and then turn both hands toward the strap and give yourself a pull down. Two more slow breaths. And then release that strap as we come up. And just pause for a second. We always feel this need to really quickly get to the other side, but it's really good. My yoga mentor, Josh, really talks about this. It's good to just notice first. Notice what you're feeling before you move quickly to the other side. All right, let's switch. So we'll extend the other leg, maybe supporting the hip here. And then we'll take that yoga strap, hold on to it with the same side hand, and then turn your body to face forward. Then we'll lift the arm and pull yourself down, open up into a side bend. I've seen this done in yoga classes by different yoga teachers. Without the strap, they take their peace fingers and they slip them underneath the little space under the ankle, and they bring their elbow down to the floor. Ooh, that is a generous stretch. Okay, let's take a breath in and come up just a little bit, and then turn directly toward that foot with both hands. And lower yourself over that leg any amount. Now, if yours looks like this, it's okay. You got tightness back here in that posterior chain. Let your body do what you need to do to get your stretch. Two more breaths. And release that strap. We're going to come up and just pause and check in. Now, I love choices. So if you want more hamstring, you're going to extend both legs into a wide leg stretch. If your hamstrings have said, Uncle, that's enough, you want to work a little bit more inner thighs and hips, then come to butterfly. You pick. Okay, 1 minute stretching on your own here. And bring your awareness back to your breathing. And notice if you're tensing or tightening anything. I just did just a second ago. My knee was way up like this, and I realized I was tightening my hip. So it just commanded it not to do that. And my other one just did the same thing. I don't know if, having had both hip replacements, if there's something in my mind that tries to protect, the injured areas or the surgical areas. And so my muscles want to grip. Let's take 3 more slow breaths. And then come up. You can stay in butterfly. If you're in wide leg, you can come to butterfly, or you can come to a cross leg position and just place your hands on top of your knees. And we're going to circle the spine around. It's a little, what have I heard this called? Stir the pot. And I just want you to let go of any remaining tension in your lower back. That's part of the posterior chain. You can allow your head and your neck to be a part of this movement. Let's go the other way. Then find a nice, tall, seated position. Eyes can be closed. Hands can stay on top of the knees with the palms down to ground yourself even more. We can turn our palms up to be in more of a receptive posture. We can press thumbs at the heart center for honor and gratitude. And let's just breathe and call to mind one thing that you're especially grateful for today in your life. And then we'll all bring thumbs to the heart center, a little bit of a bow of the chin toward the chest as we close our practice with the Anjali Mudra. It's our sign or symbol of honor and gratitude. And I am honored to present this practice to you today and grateful for the LisaBug community. And the peace that resides within my heart honors the peace in the hearts of each of you. Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone. I know that a couple of you got to race and go, but if anyone can stay for a chit chat, I'd love to see how we feel in the posterior chain. So come up and turn your cameras on and your phones. I'll get our recording shut off. I beat Jitsi this time.